Live from the multi.
Folks, we are live here on the podcast. This has been a night. Yeah, we lost the entire computer, and then hang on one second. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I literally, again, I say this every single week. I had the live stream set up. We were ready to go, and then as soon as I went to press play, the camera shut off, the feed shut off, and now it's super orange, and I don't know why. The mic stopped working, and I could not get anything to connect, and then I restarted the whole computer, and it went through a stupid update. I can't get this to work properly yet. And then the start and stop button on the streaming platform is the exact same button. And when I clicked it, I didn't know if I clicked it or not. I clicked it again. It started and stopped it. Oh boy, there's always something every single week here on the podcast. And this video is absolutely horrible. I'm going to have to re-edit this and make it look a little cleaner because I am super, super orange. Like, I had to actually blew my light out because... Hang on, that's what the normal is. And I'm not normally like this. That's me with a red light. Oh, man. It's one of those nights. Thank you all for dealing with that. And because I've been running around here for the last 10 minutes trying to get this to work, it is super warm in here. Oh, it's always something. This is the fun of live. This is the fun of live. My hair looks like crap now. Hang on. I gotta switch this because my hair looks absolutely horrible now. And I'm throwing stuff on the ground. What I throw? Nothing important. Oh, I look horrible in this video. Jeez. I don't even know why I have my head. I can barely hear myself on the headphones. This whole thing just took a dump. I don't know why. Literally everything was running. I had tested it. It worked. And then just before we started, it all fell apart. Ugh. All right. Well, if you're still here and you figure out how to get to the new feed, my name is Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area, and this is my podcast. You'd think this is my first episode, but I've been doing this for 150 some odd episodes. You know what? Let's just do this. We're just going to put normal light on. Yeah, we're not even going to do the... Let me see if I can turn this... Because this is just going to bug me for the rest of the show. That's a bit better. It's still a little light. It's still a little orange. But it's a bit better. Ugh. Okay. Let's just do this. Yeah, so my name is Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area. This is my podcast, Monday Night Nerd, where we talk about nerdy things every single week, including movies, music, comics, cosplay, and a whole lot more. Tonight, in particular, we are going to be talking about movies and going to see them in the cinema and what all of these different things are, because the Nolan Odyssey movie has kind of taken the world by storm, and he's been going around saying that the IMAX is the way to see it, but there's only 40 cinemas in the world that can see it. So it's I'm gonna move this. Jeez, this is why I cut all my stuff into smaller episodes, because the live is absolutely horrible. So yeah, we're going to talk about that tonight because the Odyssey is kind of the big thing, and Doom trailer kind of came out today, so we're going to talk about that as well, because that kind of flows into this with the Infinity Vision and everything they're calling it. But first, we're going to start out with a little bit, I hope this works, news.
Live from the multiverse, it's Monday Night News.
Ugh. All right, let's jump into the news, folks. I just want to go through a couple reviews. I've been watching some movies lately, taking some time into myself, and these are not current movies, but these are ones I just wanted to watch. One I did watch a long time ago, and I wanted to rewatch it because something happened recently that made me want to watch it, and one that I've never seen before. So the movie I'd seen before that I absolutely loved, and I really wanted to jump into it again, was the movie called Sudden Death, which you probably have never heard of unless you're a martial arts fan like I am. It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and you're probably wondering yourself, why are you randomly watching a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? Well, first of all, I'm a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. fan. Second of all, if you are anywhere on social media now, you see sort of this TikTok or Netflix thing that's going around where the TikTok video is someone walking onto an empty chair, and it's like starting the documentary of whatever. And sometimes it's, if I'm sitting down and talking and about to do a documentary about how I hate my coworkers or something like that. Well, the Pittsburgh Penguins put one out a couple days ago saying it was the mascot of the Pittsburgh Penguins coming out and saying, sitting in the chair saying, back in the time, doing a documentary back in the day when I had a fight with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And that plays into Sudden Death. So the movie Sudden Death is, like I said, a JCVD movie, and it is set in a Stanley Cup Finals. It is about Jean-Claude Van Damme going as a security guard to the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. I believe it's around 1991-92, and it's not the real Stanley Cup. And it's the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Chicago Blackhawks, and it's actually filmed during a hockey game at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And basically the big bad guy shows up. The vice president has come for the final game, and the bad guy of the movie, Powers Booth, who is also who you might recognize as Senator Rourke from Sin City, he's the big bad guy. He gets into the booth and holds the president hostage, kills a bunch of people, blah, blah, blah. Very good movie. It's a very good movie. It's a very easy to follow movie, which I appreciate. There are some Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, which even though they're martial arts movies, they're kind of hard to follow. They're kind of all over the place. This one is a very straightforward, very fun one. Great martial arts. Powers Booth is actually a very good villain. There are a couple times where he could easily do the stupid villain part of just like, I'm going to threaten somebody and not actually pull it off. No, he pulls it off. He actually does kill a bunch of people, and it's actually a very good movie. I've seen it. I used to have it on DVD, and I saw the Pittsburgh Penguins post, and I said, I need to watch this again, and had a blast watching it. Another movie that I watched, again, an older movie from 1986, I believe, the movie Clue. And this is based off the board game of the same name. And this is a movie that I've seen posters of. I've seen people talk about it over the years, and it's always been on my list. And I said, I need to watch this. So finally I sat down, and I got to admit, it's probably not the best way to watch it, especially as a movie fan. I watched it on my phone, but it's not like it's a big action movie. Basically, the movie is about the board game, kind of. A whole bunch of people show up at this house, a murder happens, and we have to find out who did it. It is a comedy, and the cast is unbelievable. It is Tim Curry, it is Madeline Kahn from Young Frankenstein and other of those type of movies, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKinnon from Spinal Tap, Martin Mull from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Leslie Ann Warren, etc. Star-studded cast, and they all play the different people that you would be in Clue, Professor Plum, etc. And it's a really fun movie, and there's the ending really has a twist to it, which I really enjoyed, because you could have easily done a very straightforward, very, whodunit, period, that's it, but it's actually a fun little twist ending, which I was happy about. So if you've never seen Clue, I highly recommend it. It is worth a watch. It's about only an hour and a half, but really funny. Tim Curry, I've always been a giant fan of, and I officially am a fan of the Tim Curry run, because he is sort of the narrator throughout the whole thing and sort of the one who's guiding the audience, and he has to backtrack through the movie, and him running from room to room in his Tim Curry run is just hilarious. So go check it out. It's an older movie, but it's very, very fun. When it comes to getting into the Marvel comic news, we're going to talk a little bit about a Doom trailer in a little bit, but I do want to talk about X-Men 97. Episode 5 came out last week. I watched it over the weekend. A very, very good episode. The only part that I didn't like was there is a brief, and I say brief because I don't want to give a spoiler of what the cameo is, but there is a brief cameo in it that I saw it and I knew it was in the trailer, but once I saw it, I was like, oh, that was it? That there wasn't anything better? That kind of bummed me out, but overall, it is a very good episode. The plot does kind of revolve around Morph and Wolverine, which is a fun relationship they've had over the years, because in the original, Morph does die, so having him back and having, over the past couple episodes and more in the last season, Wolverine kind of being the big brother to Morph, and that dynamic is really good. There is an introduction of a character which we see, and I really enjoy seeing. We do not see what happens to him, so I'm hoping he comes back later. But overall, it is a good episode going into episodes. This was the one that I was the most excited for based off the title. This was the Love, Sex, and DVDs, I believe, based off the Love, Sex, and Videotapes, the old movie. And it was good. It was good. I think we have 3 more episodes left going into the end of the season, and they've already signed on for a season 3, so I don't know where they're going to go with it, but I'm very excited. I guess this is where we should kind of talk. Actually, before we jump into the Doom trailer, let's jump into what we talked about last week, because I do want to kind of do a follow-up. So last week, if you were on the podcast, we talked about the photo that was released from Japan. It was the big shot of all of the people in the Doom movie with Doom in the middle. I did say in that video that I do not believe that the X-Men that are featured below is the Fox universe, because Professor X, Mystique, and Cyclops are in that team, and at the end of Last Stand, they do not make it through. Now, someone, because it's the internet, commented on that video and said, no, this is the Fox universe because they were brought back into existence because of what happened in Days of Future Past. If that's the truth, they need to shut down this multiverse thing immediately, because it is instantly going to be way too confusing. And I'm talking as somebody who is a hardcore comic book fan, and I've seen all these movies. I know them pretty damn well. But this is a giant problem now for a couple reasons. Number one, what you are now telling your average audience member, this is not someone like me, this is someone who, hey, the kids want to go see a Marvel movie. You are now telling them that people in this new Doom movie, you have to know that they started out in 2000, because there's no way you're not going to reference all this. They started in 2000. They did 3 movies. A couple of them passed away. Then we restarted the franchise, and during one of those movies, we brought those characters back into existence, and now we took another character from another universe and put them into this universe altogether, being Gambit. Oh, and also, one of the characters that passed away in the original 3 that we brought back into the second round also has a cameo in another movie who he passed away there, but it's not the same one. That's way too much for an audience member who isn't into this to remember. And if you say you don't have to remember that, I'm sorry. Marvel has proved it over and over again that you do need to know all this, because there are going to be references and clues here and there to keep you up to date on all that. It's way, way, way too much. And if it is actually the Fox universe, I am officially on the camp of I cannot wait for Secret Wars to happen so we blow this whole thing up, because it's getting way too in-depth. And I feel bad saying that, because I'm a big fan of these movies. I'm a big fan of all these franchises. But I can forgive them for bringing in new characters and realizing they're not the right ones and either pushing them to the side and stuff like that. But doing this, bringing them back and doing all this, and also, if they've done that this many times, that means anything coming up can be completely reversible, which means there's 0 stakes, which is the worst part. Doing all this is one thing, but you've now told the audience that there are 0 stakes, because one of the people who is in this movie has passed away twice. I can't do it. I can't follow it, and I'm someone who's a fan of all this. Let's jump into the trailer, though. Let's jump into the Marvel Doomsday trailer. It came out earlier today. What do we want to talk about? Well, we kind of knew everything was going to come along this way. We knew we were going to have a big group of all of our heroes going up against Doom, and that's what we got in the trailer. I mean, there was a lot of shots of people in different areas. We had the Fantastic Four and the New Avengers in the New Avengers Tower. We had Thor up there as well. We had, looks like, some of the New Avengers fighting against the X-Men in what looks like the X-Men mansion. I gotta admit, probably the best scene in the entire trailer was the fight or the altercation between Shang-Chi and Gambit. I think that's a dope fight. Seeing Rebecca Romaine back as Mystique in the new, what would be more comic accurate suit, looked amazing. I think the final scene that I've seen a lot of reactors kind of go, ah, and like, screw it, I don't mind spoiling it because we've had it spoiled already. Captain America's shows up at the end and Thor passes Mew Mew to him. Again, I don't think you needed to. That would have been a great moment in the trailer. It would have been even better if we all got it in the theater. But you already showed it. You already showed one of those teaser trailers with him in it. So this meant nothing. It was like, oh my God, Cap's back. We knew he was going to be back because you showed it 4 months ago. You showed him in the chair, I believe. I believe he had one of those chairs. So, yeah, I was not thoroughly impressed by this trailer, which, again, kind of frustrates me because I'm a big fan of the Marvel franchise. Like, I've been a hardcore fan from the beginning. But this just is kind of going, okay, like, you're spoiling everything before we get into the theater, and you're bringing all these characters back to either be cannon fodder for Doom, or they might pass away and they might come back later because you might want to retcon that. I can't do it. I'm going to go and I'm going to be excited to see it. But right now it's just like, man, this is just, it's not impressing me. And that sucks. So, whatever. We are almost half hour in. It is boiling in this room now that I had to kick the fan off. If you guys are here, I greatly appreciate it. If you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and all those things here on YouTube. I would have TikTok going, but I did not have time to have TikTok running tonight. Sponsor, as always, my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife is always the sponsor here on the podcast. I would not be doing this without her. I would not have this beautiful house without her. I wouldn't have this amazing technology, which I hope I can fix over the next little while. Hun, I absolutely love you. Alrighty, let me just check here. All right, let's jump into the main event. It's time for the main event. Alrighty, folks, we are here in the main event. We're going to be talking a little bit about this whole movie. What do we call it? These premium formats that are kind of in the world of the theater now, and this is, I think we can all agree, this is kind of the theater and movie industry's answer to not just Netflix, but just the people getting off of their couch and going back into the cinemas. I think we can all agree that is what the whole point of this is. And it's good that they're trying to do that, because I've always been a fan of the cinema. I've always been a fan of going to the theater, but it's also something we need to remember. Back in the day, we used to have just a single screen or 15 screens or whatever, and it was a single ticket. And now with all these different things like IMAX, Dolby, 4DX, ScreenX, D-Box, all these things, there's 50 million tickets and 50 prices, and it just adds a bunch of confusion. Because unless you are a big movie fan, unless you're someone who goes to the movies regularly, you see all these things and you might not know what these things are and what you're actually paying for. So you might be spending a whole bunch of money thinking you're getting one thing, and it turns out to be not really worth your money. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the different formats, what's really worth it, what are you actually getting when you go to see these movies? Because as I said earlier, we've got movies now like Odyssey with from Nolan, and he keeps saying, we shot this in 70 millimeter film. This is what you need to see it this way. You need to go to one of the 40 cinemas around the world that have a 70 millimeter IMAX projector and all these things. Does that really matter to an average movie fan, or is this for a specific audience? We're going to talk about that. So let's break down the formats, because I think that's a good baseline, because like I said, there are a bunch of different things that you're going to hear if you're a movie fan or if you're thinking of going to see something in the theaters nowadays, and you might go, I don't know what this is, so I'm going to save you time ChatGPT and Googling to figure out what this stuff is. So let's start out with the Chris Nolan thing, 70 millimeter IMAX. What is that compared to everything else? Well, the 70 millimeter IMAX is that. It is a 70 millimeter film. It is not digital. So if you've never seen the back end of a cinema in the past 20 years, everything is digital now. Everything, there is no big film reel showing up on trucks. It is all sent through the internet. They get it onto a hard drive, and it is shown digitally. This 70 millimeter IMAX is exactly that. It is film. It is a big 70 millimeter strip of film on a big giant roll or multiple rolls, and that is what you're watching. You're actually watching film. You also have what some people are calling LIMAX, which is basically when you say IMAX, it's not the 70 millimeter. It is just bigger screen and a bigger auditorium. That's the only thing that's going on when you see an IMAX. So like I went to see Project Hail Mary. I saw Project Hail Mary with my wife a few months ago in an IMAX cinema. That was not on film. That was just a extra large screen with a couple extra speakers. That's all that most IMAX theaters are now. It's not film. It's still digital. Now, when it comes to sound, what's the difference between going to your local cinema and going to a regular screening or going to what Cineplex is calling a Dolby Atmos sound? Well, the difference between that is a normal screen uses 5.1 or 7.1 sound, which basically means there are 5 to 7 speakers surrounding the auditorium. So you'll get front, you'll get side, you'll get back. Then you have what's known as Dolby Atmos. And what Dolby Atmos is basically is they've now added speakers to the ceiling. So that gives you a full encompassing sound. So if a helicopter goes overhead, you hear it go right over your head. You don't just hear it on your sides. If you are a fan of, if you want something bigger when it comes to screen and you want your Dolby Atmos, that is where your Ultra AVX is. That is a bigger screen with the Dolby Atmos sound included. Then you have what's called Screen X. What Screen X is, it is you have the normal screen, but then they've also projecting even wider screens onto the sides of the cinema hall. So instead of just having one, you have a side and you have a side. Before you buy a ticket to this, though, it is not a specific theater for this. So it's not like there's nothing on the wall and it is just, a projector screen. It is a normal theater, but they just shoot that side too. So there might be a speaker or something there that on the edge, which might be blocking the shot. And the shots are not as clear on the side as it is on the main screen. Then you have what Justin Smith, not a fan of 4DX, and D-Box, I don't want my movie experience to feel like a ride. Exactly. So D-Box seats are the motion seats. In some of the bigger cinemas, there are a strip, usually 1 to I think maybe 2 rows of motion seats, and these seats will vibrate and move around during certain scenes. Now, personally, I've gone to the D-Box seats for Force Awakens, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we have 4DX, and 4DX is the full immersion. So that is motion seats, that is water effects, that is wind effects, that is heat effects, etc. throughout the whole movie theater. So that is a full encompassing way to see a movie. Now, I will go into my experiences in a bit, but that's the breakdown. So Dolby Atmos is the stuff up top. Ultra AVX is a bigger screen with Dolby Atmos. Screen X are the screens on the side. D-Box is motion seats. 4DX is the motion seats plus all bunch of effects going around. By the way, I live in Ontario, Canada. I've gone to Ontario, Canada theaters. There is probably stuff in the States that I don't know about. This is what I know and this is what I've experienced. Also, There's also VIP, and I've never done VIP, but as far as I know, it is a Ultra AVX screen, but they also can bring you food and drinks to your seat. That's the only big difference that I've read. So, let's talk about, if you get one of these things, let's talk about the ticket pricing, because this obviously plays a factor, because standard tickets, and I think we can all agree with this, even as hardcore movie fans, standard tickets are already expensive. If you go to your mom and pop cinema, if you go to a Landmark cinema, I'll even include them because they have the reclining seats, but they're still, I would consider them almost a mom and pop chain. They're already expensive. You're looking at least 10, 12, 13, 15 bucks depending on what cinema. That doesn't include parking, snacks, possible babysitter if you're a parent. If you want something bigger, like a 4DX or a D-Box or a Screen X or an IMAX, you are paying a lot more for that, to the point where it is almost double. Now, the thing that we have to remember about this is, are these things built for us or someone else? Well, as a kid, as a person who has dealt with, who lives in the world of marketing, because that is what I do in my day-to-day job, I have done many courses on human psychology, including child psychology, because that is a very interesting thing when it comes to marketing, because a lot of companies don't just market to the parent, they market to the kid. And that is something that we have to remember in this, is that, is the cinema building all this stuff just for the hardcore movie fans, or is it for the kids as well? Because I can tell you right now, if you go to your kid and you say, hey, Jimmy, we're going to go to the movies and we're going to see How to Train Your Dragon, he'll be excited. But if he hears that the How to Train Your Dragon is in 4DX D-Box with Dolby Atmos and weather effects and all these things, I can guarantee you he's going to choose that one, and the theater knows it. The theaters know that. That is one of the reasons why they put all this stuff in here, because it is very easy for an adult. I shouldn't say very easy. It's easier for an adult to look at these things and do the research and go, okay, well, the 4DX, and now it's going to bounce me around a little bit. I don't know. The kid's going to see motion seats and go, that's the one, and that's the only choice I'm choosing. So the theaters know these things, and it's a business. I get it, but do you want to go to a cinema and make it almost like a roller coaster? I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a second. Justice Smith said, I did the D-Box back when It Chapter 2 came out, mistake, and turned it off within 10 minutes. And I had a similar thought about that. And we're going to go into that in a minute. Pretty Nerdy Crystal said, thankfully my kid doesn't understand any of that, and I say we go to this one for Minecraft. Give him time. Give him time. He's going to start figuring it out, because all kids do. And at what point does the economy push the average viewer out when it comes to some of these? Because you can go to, well, we'll use Doom as an example. I can guarantee you that Doom is going to be on the biggest screens, and you're probably going to have at least 3 showings on one screen. You're going to have 3 showings on another screen that's going to have Dolby Atmos and all these things. But then you're also going to have a regular screen. And I can probably bet you that the regular screens are going to have less viewings. You're probably going to have, let's say a Saturday, you're going to have a matinee. So 12, we'll say 3. Well, no, because it's a 3-hour movie. So it'll be 12, 4, 8, maybe a 10:30 if they have the right layout. You're probably only going to have 2 on that regular one, because they don't mind they want to make sure they have the option, but they want to push people onto the bigger, more pricey screens. Let's talk about the 4DX question. So with the 4DX, and Justin brought it up in chat, with the D-box seats, because it's the similar thing. You have the motion seats, but you have all the other stuff. So with the 4DX, we talked about you get the wind, you get water, you get mist, you get scents too, like all these things that bring you into the movie. However, as Justin said, and I have to agree, does this take you out of the movie? I feel it does. And that is based on 3 different experiences doing some of these type of seats. Because the whole point of it is to follow the motion. So if you were seeing, let's say, Top Gun, an incredible movie that everybody should love. I'm looking at you, Crystal. If you're there in the motion seats, you're following the planes, you're following them around. If the movie is extremely jolting, though, you're being bounced around. It's not smooth like you'd want it to be. Here are my 3 experiences in these type of seats. So the first one was the D-box seats, just the motion seats, and we went to see Star Wars Force Awakens. This was me and my wife, and this was the first time where I was really excited because I'd heard so much about these cool seats. I was thoroughly disappointed. And I thought I'd be enjoying this because Force Awakens has the ships and you're out in space and you're following along. That was good. I didn't mind that. But I can remember the moment. There was a moment between Harrison Ford and I want to say Finn was over here. And you're looking at Ford. And he turns his head a bit. And our seats went. And I'm like, why are we moving? We should not be following every bit of movement in this movie. And it was okay. Like it was the flying parts were fun, but there was definitely more jostling than flying feeling. The second one was when we went, let's try the whole thing and let's do 4DX with the mist and all the other stuff. That was Across the Spider-Verse, because I'm like, if anything's going to be like, whoa, everything's flying at us and stuff, it's Spider-Man. I hated that experience. I absolutely hated that experience. Because he's flying around so much, and there's so many quick cuts in that movie that you're literally being just thrown around. The wind was so powerful that it literally dropped the temperature in the cinema, and it was already cool in there to the point where you're cold. Then there are multiple scenes in that movie where Spider-Man is standing out in the rain and it is misting on you the whole time. So you're not soaked, but you feel damp. So you're now damp and the wind is blowing on you. It was not a fun experience. Maybe with something like a Fast and the Furious, I could see it working, but Across the Spider-Verse was the absolute worst movie, in my opinion, I could have chose, but I did. The last one was How to Train Your Dragon, and that was the one where we saw the Screen X, where it had the extended screens. It was okay. It kind of is the same argument that I have with IMAX now, and especially all these trailers for the Odyssey of, this is what you're missing on the top and bottom if you're not seeing this in IMAX. I'm sorry, I don't really give a crap about the top of Matt Damon's helmet. I really don't care about this little bit of water that's underneath the ship. Similar feeling to How to Train Your Dragon, where everything is still happening here. There just might be a dragon tail that kind of whips around a little bit. Like, it's all scenery on the side. It's not like there's key things happening on either side because they shoot the movie for one screen. This is just extra. And it's okay, but again, like I said at the beginning, the side screens are not crystal clear because it's not like they put screens up on the side. They're a little off. So, again, there's probably movies out there that work well and situations where motion seats and stuff like that do work well. And I can give you the perfect example for it, and we kind of talked about before, at different amusement parks. Canada's Wonderland used to have a motion ride. They used to have a Days of Thunder starring Tom Cruise, and then they had a reboot one at Palladium in Mississauga, which was a big arcade. They used to have motion video there, and it was so much fun. I remember watching Days of Thunder about 10 times when I was a kid. Every single time we'd go, I'd want to go on it. Then they got a James Bond one, and it was amazing as well. The reboot one was so good. I think you can find the video of it on YouTube. Those are the places where I feel the motion seats work, but a regular movie that isn't shot for it, I just don't feel like that type of stuff works for me. There's probably people who absolutely love it, and I've seen tons of people come out saying, that was so cool, having the fire and stuff like that, the heat, etc. I believe it. It's just not for me. Shinobi said Spidey and Doomsday won't be in IMAX initially because Odyssey and Dune 3. Yes, there is Infinity Vision. Yes, I believe we're going to be talking about that in a second and the hilarity of what Infinity Vision actually is. Justin Smith, I personally like Landmark Cinema because of the comfortable seats. Their screens aren't great, but I still enjoy it. Exactly. We always go to Landmark. It's got the reclining lazy boy seats, which in the end, I just want something comfortable. Like, I really just want a comfortable seat to sit in. I don't need all these extra things. And that's me personally. Like I said, there's probably kids out there, teens out there that love this stuff. For me, and it's not just because I'm old, I just want to enjoy the movie. And I think it was Justin who said earlier, it feels like every time this is going on, you just lose track of the film and you're just too busy. So kind of going off of that though, does this format, the changing of, the mist and all these motion seats, does it serve the film or does the film serve the format? Because some filmmakers like these extra things, like Chris Nolan, for example, loves IMAX, and Tom Cruise has talked about IMAX and how crisp the picture is and the Atmos sound and how it sounds like in Top Gun Maverick, hearing the planes go by and stuff. I think, like I said, there are times when it works and times when it doesn't, but the problem is that sometimes these studios or the cinemas don't have movies specific for these things. So what happens is they start converting them into these premium formats without them being meant for it. For example, the How to Train Your Dragon that I saw. This movie was shot for this. It wasn't shot for this. So it was just extra scenery, which I guess could be fun, but it didn't add anything to the movie. Same what I feel with Odyssey when people are saying you have to see it in IMAX. And I'm like, well, again, this little bit and this little bit ain't changing the movie for me. It's the exact same feeling I felt watching the Justice League movie, the extended cut version. I was like, okay, it's a 4-hour cut of the movie. You're not changing the movie. You're not changing the plot. You're just adding extra things in here, which might add to the story a little bit, but I highly doubt it because you had to make a 2.5-3 hour version. So, and kind of going what we talked about. Who was it? Let's check the chat. Shinobi said in the chat about Infinity Vision. So yes, so Marvel's Doom is not going to be in IMAX technically because Odyssey, Dune 3 has the lock on the IMAX screen. So now Disney and Marvel are going through many cinemas around the country and finding what they're calling the Infinity Vision viewing, which is what they're calling their best cinemas to see it in. They will get a badge that this is the best screen to watch it and the best audio, and it's just a marketing ploy. And thankfully we're smart enough now that we kind of realize that it's a whole bunch of crock. It's not anything different. They're not going in and changing the cinema. It's just they're putting a badge on it going, you should see it here. And I can tell you now, those are probably going to be the most expensive ones on the list because they want to make their money back because you're already competing against Dune 3 at that point. Doomsday will do well, but having a pretty stiff competition for Dune 3, that's a big deal. So, I think a lot of these movies are built for a normal cinema and a normal cinema going experience, because that's what most people have the capabilities to go see and have in their area. It's only these bigger cinemas that are littered around the country. I'll admit it's not like they're hard to get to nowadays, but the amount of people that are going to see them and the amount of people that are going to pay that extra money is obviously going to be a lot less than just the general public going to a general cinema that just has a normal screen with normal audio. Shinobi said, my preference is to catch a movie on the biggest screen I can get to, so I'll always go to Scotiabank Theater, IMAX, or Cinesphere, closed until 2029. I heard about that. That sucks. And it really depends for me on the movie. Like, I would probably like to see Doomsday on something big, but I also don't want to pay, $30 for a ticket. It really, back in the day, because I'm so old, I wouldn't mind spending the extra money to go see this thing, but I've also got other things in my life that I got to spend that money on. And I really don't want to spend it on one ticket when it'll be fun, but it's also going to be over in 3 hours. So it depends. If you want to enjoy it in the biggest screen possible, mazel tov, enjoy. And then we have the studio side. Let's talk about the studio side of the equation, because this isn't just the cinemas doing this. This is the studios as well. The studios know that this type of technology exists. This type of technology is available to them. Should they be incorporating it more? So from the studio perspective, it's a big revenue line. As similar, like I said, with Marvel, they'll stamp their name on probably all these Infinity Visions, and if you look at them, it'll all be the biggest and most expensive tickets, because now you've got a stamp of approval probably, so that's going to add some more to your ticket price. So obviously they want you to spend the most. They want you to do the D-Box and the 4DX and all this stuff, because it's a bigger ticket price, and for the first 4 weeks, I think it's 3 weeks, the cinema takes, I believe, 70%, 60% of the ticket revenue. And then as the longer the movie's out, the studio takes more and more and more and more. So they obviously want to spend the most money, because that means the more money that the cinema is going to get and they're going to take home. This helps them justify their big production, because they'll be like, well, if we spend, all this extra money on all these extra explosions and water and, flying and stuff like that, well, that's going to look great on a 4DX cinema. So we should do that, because that'll get more people to go see that. Is that healthy though? Is a question, because this is something that I think is very similar to another argument that we had back in the day. You now have all these cinemas going around, you now have all these studios going around wanting to do these big budget movies. And I'm not going to use Odyssey as an example. We'll say the DC universe, the Marvel universe, the Fast and Furious universe. We'll even throw, Disney animated, etc. All wanting to do these big giant films, because part of it they'll know will be on these special formats. There'll be the 4DX, there'll be which is great. But are they making those films for those elements and not focusing as much on the story? This goes back to back in the day, a very famous movie, Batman and Robin. It is well known, especially from the many interviews from George Clooney, Schumacher, etc., that movie had a lot of issues being made because the studio was interfering so much, saying, well, we have to start making toys of all these things, so you need to start incorporating different things into the movie so we can make the toys. And that means things had to be tweaked, that means designs had to be changed, etc. So are the studios now making movies for are these studios now making these movies for all these special ticket sales? Or are they, back in the day, making it for toys? Or should they be making it for the story? Because we have to admit, there have been some movies that have pretty darn good stories, but don't have all these special effects and all that have just kind of floated by, and we haven't really noticed them until they've reached a Netflix or a streaming platform where we have the capability to sit down and go, this is a really good movie. You just didn't have the capabilities to see it on a big screen because they just kind of put it off into a single cinema. Shinobi, the opening shot in the IMAX version of The Dark Knight remains the best advert for the format for me. It always gets a reaction from the crowd. Famously, I don't like The Dark Knight, but I will give it credit. That scene does make a lot of sense for the format. I will fully admit that. It's not the best movie for me, but I do agree with your point on that. And then we have the theater side of the equation. So we've got theaters investing heavily into this premium. So they're having to convert their cinemas into all these special formats. It's not like you can just add smoke effects and add motion seats. Like, that's a big revamp of some of these theaters to add all these things into it. Does that investment help them in the long term, or does it just give them these little bursts here and there when those big movies come out? I don't know, because some people might see it as that. Some people look at it as they're maybe building an investment in the loyalty of the crowd of, well, we know that if we want to see these big movies with all the special effects, we need to go to blah, 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 blah cinema, and we won't go somewhere else. Kind of the way I, and I think others have said in the chat, that we feel about Landmark. We know Landmark's going to have great seats to sit in, might not have the best screens, might not have the best sound. It's still capable, though. It does a good job. I'd rather pay for that than getting misted on all night. So, does all these special things that they're putting a lot of heavy money into really matter to the audience, and is that growing the loyalty? You know, there's always, and like I said, back going into the little bursts, I think that's where it's really putting a lot of pressure on the cinemas, because the cinemas having to put up all the upfront costs to transform their cinemas. So worst case scenario, let's say you're yada 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 cinema, and you're like, okay, we're going to do IMAX, we're going to do 4DX, we're going to do all these things. Let's convert the entire cinema. Okay, we've converted it. We've now got 5 premium screens on either side. Let's go. And then a pandemic hits. Then what do? Now you can't do mist because it's water, and you don't want people too close, so that means you can only fill up half the cinema. Like, it's a lot of gamble, and not even just something as crazy as that, but also, like I said, with the bursts, like, you're hoping that every 3 months, let's say, there's a big enough movie coming along that you're like, this is going to fill up the cinema. Back in the day when Marvel was killing it, and DC was killing it, and Disney was killing it, and Bond and Mission Impossible and all these franchises were consistently bringing out big movies, 100% it was worth it. Today, I don't know, because we got Doom, which is great, but after Doom, is everyone going to go see the next Marvel? Dune 3 is coming out. I don't think there's a Dune 4. So that's done. I don't think there's many Mission Impossibles happening. Bond's supposed to be coming back. It's just so much of a gamble right now. And I don't know if they want to do that. And after all this, you've got all this confusion and all this not, what do I do? What do I want to see? How do I want to see that? But then most people can just go down to their basement or go to their living room, and you've got a modern 4K OLED TV with a pretty good sound system for less than $1,000, and you can watch absolutely anything you've ever wanted to on that thing. That's a hard thing to change. Like, you got to now get up, put on clothes, get everybody together, get in your car, drive, park, get food, get tickets. You got someone yelling at in the cinema, you got someone on the phone, or just sit at home and watch it on a TV that, again, is pretty cheap to get now. It's a hard argument. So what are the theaters doing to combat that? Well, they have all these formats, but they also have other things. And I think this is where the movie theaters are doing a good job They could do a better job, but they do a good job at this, and that is bringing other things to the cinema. So not just the newest movies, but you're also seeing cinemas do a lot of classic movies and concerts and other fun experiences. Like Landmark is now doing classic movies. Cineplex has always done classic movies. Probably for the past decade, you can go see a lot of classics there, especially in the summer. You've got concerts. I've seen at least 3 concert movies and concert films at a cinema. They used to have WWE there. We used to go every month to see WWE because it was cheaper to go there than getting it on pay-per-view at your house. You can bring your own food in. You're not supposed to, but we did. And then you have fun experiences. Like there are local cinemas here in the Hamilton, Ontario area that do, they'll do watch-alongs of these crazy movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show or Back to the Future, where you can yell during the movie and stuff like that. That is the stuff that I think is there, that the cinemas are doing well and trying to bring that audience back in, because I completely understand why people don't want to, because again, you could sit at home and watch all this stuff and do all this stuff from the comfort of your own couch. Why would you want to go out there? Well, you can go out there and get that extra experience that you can't get at home. And I like that. And the Marvel experiences do fall into that. I mean, you have to admit, it is sort of a big thing to do a big Marvel premiere and everyone gets together and we all are excited to go see and what's going to happen and we talk about it after. That's the stuff I love the most. Like that is I've talked to my wife many years ago when we first got together about, I would say, I'm going to see the premiere with my friends and the movie's at 7:00, but I want to be there at 5. And she's like, why do you want to be there so early? The movie doesn't start till 7. Like, let's get there at like 6:55. And I'm like, no, like I love, and I truly mean this, and I don't mind saying this. And if my friends are watching, that's great. If they're not, that's fine. I absolutely love sitting around with them and just talking about the movie and talking about, having just some conversations before and after, like getting out of the movie and walking to our cars and being like, man, like that was so cool. Can you believe this happened? I didn't know they'd be in this. Those are such fun moments for me. And I absolutely love those moments. And that's why I love going to those Marvel movies. That's why I love going opening night, because it's not just my friends going there. It's a whole bunch of people that are probably hardcore fans like us that are all enjoying this at the same time. And I just dig that a lot. Pretty Near Crystal, I was so happy to see my favorite movie of all time on the big screen, and it was showing in 1939. So it was like being there then, that was amazing for me. Those are the experiences I love. Like sorry, David Thorne, I hate Rocky Horror Picture Show, but we had to go there. Dave famously, in our friend group, proposed to his now wife before watching Rocky Horror Picture Show. All of us were in the audience. The lights were down. He did a little video on the screen and proposed, and then the lights went up and we all cheered, and then we watched Rocky Horror Picture Show. I hate that movie, but it was fun with everyone there. It was fun to see people joking with the movie and stuff, but it's just not a movie for me. So after all that, we get to the point of, is all this actually worth it? All of these extra tickets, all of these extra things that are added to the cinema, is this all worth it? Does it actually help? Do all these extra things help? I don't know, because personally for me, I don't think so. But there's no way these things have been around for so many years, and there's not enough people to go there, hate them, and then not fill them up later. Like, there's no way that's the case. So there's somebody for it. And I gotta admit, like, maybe a Marvel movie, I'd want that Dolby Atmos. I want that boom, 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 that big thumping bass, things flying over my head. Okay, you got me on that one. For the D-Box, the moving seats, maybe a Top Gun. Maybe. Or Fast and Furious. Something with cars or planes. Not Spider-Man. 4DX, I just don't think that's for me. But again, there's probably people out there that love going to see it and have so many movie memories that remember so many times going to see stuff. Maybe it's just not for me. And I think that's something that we all have to remember just in life, is that there's these things that pop up and you may not like them, but not everything's for you. And some people might absolutely love these things. Noah, Freakish Workshop said, I also love being able to see movies I missed when I was a kid. And when they come back for a single night run, like how Kingdom of Heaven did a few months ago. That's cool. Yeah, like I think it's the 30th anniversary is coming up of, no, not 30th, 20th. Big anniversary coming up for the original Fast and the Furious. I want to go see that in cinemas because I didn't get to. I watched it on DVD at home. Justin Smith, I remember going to see the WWE pay-per-views at Cineplex. They should bring back for SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, but add giveaways. Yes, they should. I know Impact was doing them for a little bit. Impact Wrestling, or not Impact Wrestling. AEW was doing them for a little bit over the past couple of years. Yeah, I remember seeing many pay-per-views there. Famously, and I've told this story before, but I'll say it again here because it's a fun story. When the tippy top memory for going to see WWE at the cinema was going to Cineplex for WrestleMania 17. It was myself, my buddy Kurt, and my buddy Caleb. Big shout out to those two. I haven't seen them in forever, but I absolutely love them still. We went to see WrestleMania 17, and before we went there, we went to Taco Bell and we got 50 tacos. They had a 50 taco deal. We each got a pop and we got 50 tacos. We each walked in with a bag, like a grocery bag of tacos that we split between the three of us. And we sat there and watched WrestleMania 17 in our seats, just eating the hell out of Taco Bell. And I felt like crap later. I think we had maybe 5 left by the end. We were just so tired of Taco Bell. But yeah, that was the best memory I have, is just sitting there watching WrestleMania. We were dead center watching Rock and Austin at WrestleMania 17, just chowing down on Taco Bell. Noah, D-Box should only be a thing for Fast and Furious. See, like I said, I agree. I think it should only be stuff like that, but there's probably people out there that love it for other things. I don't know what it would be, but hey, there's somebody for everything, so you never know. And I think the final question here is, are we pricing people out of cinema with all these extra features? Because as I said, you've got these big multiplexes and there's probably 10 screens in the multiplex, but probably only 2 to 3 to 4 of them are the single normal screens. Like I love that people used to get me, the Cineplex gift cards, like the one admission, like you get a free admission. And I'd go in there and I'm like, it's a free admission, but nothing's playing on those screens that I want to see. All the stuff I actually want to see are on the big screens. So I have to pay extra. And it happens over and over. Movie going used to be accessible to everybody. But now it's becoming a problem for, as Crystal says, spend $100 on 3 tickets to Toy Story 5 plus food. Like, that's a lot to go see a movie. And again, when you could wait 4 months or 3 months or sometimes 2 months and it'll come out on a streaming platform. Justin Smith, I think the popcorn buckets have gotten out of hand, though. I got Cinnamon need to make more money. Well, you can thank Dune for the popcorn buckets. You can thank Dune for that. That just went viral, and now everything has a popcorn bucket. And I think we're going to have a lot of secondhand stores and thrift stores that are going to be full of popcorn buckets sooner or later. Because 99% of them no one cares about. It's like hockey cards. It's like sports cards. 99% of sports cards are crap and aren't worth a penny. But a few of them might be worth something in the future. I don't know. Yeah, especially with this premium format, it's coming to the point where you're not giving people as many options for a regular cinema. You're raising the ticket prices of those regular seats. It's just making it almost a middle class type of thing now. If you're someone that can't afford to go, you're going to be sitting at home. And that sucks because I really enjoy going to the movies, but I also don't want to drop, $100 on so many tickets. But on the other hand, I see a lot of people today talking about, is the movie theater dying? Is the movie theater not going to be around forever? And I don't think so. I think the movie theater will always be there. But in the end, similar to some other things, the audience is always going to look for the cheapest, frictionlessness option out there for anything. Amazon for shopping, Spotify for music, Netflix for movies. Like the cheapest and easiest way to get these things, the audience will always go for. And, it reminds me of a really good scene, which I've shared on my Instagram before, from American Fiction. And you've probably seen it if you've been on Instagram. It's the Johnny Walker comparison of, an author goes in and he's talking about, he wrote this, he's writing amazing books, and then he wrote this very simple book. And the guy sits down and he pulls out 3 bottles of Johnny Walker. One is red, one's black, one's blue. And he says, red's the basic, black's the middle, blue's the premium. Most people just want to get drunk. Most people just want to go see a movie. Theaters, unfortunately, are turning into the black and blue now, where you're not able to just get drunk. You're not able to just go see a movie. You have to buy the black or the blue. And I think that's where they're running into the problems. Now, does that mean theaters are done? No. Because just like vinyl, just like DVD, there will always be a market out there for the cinema. There will always be some version of a theater or a cinema. It might not be as accessible as it is today. It's not as accessible now as it was when I was a kid. And I think that's where where the studios and the cinema owners are running into the biggest problem is what they're offering what the masses want? Or are they just going because they feel like they have to and they have no other option? I think it's more that. I think it's more that they're feeling like they have to go, especially to stuff like the Marvel, the Marvel premieres, because they want to be ready for those water cooler conversations the next day. So they don't feel like they're missing out. However, I don't think that's going to last forever. I do feel like we're going to see a reduction in cinemas. I don't think it's going away. But I do feel like if this is the way we're going to go, where we're going to keep adding these effects and raising ticket price and stuff, you're going to start having problems. And I think the cinemas are already seeing that. And I don't think they're realizing the options that people have nowadays. Because today, you can watch anything you've ever wanted to on about 10 different platforms. That's a lot cheaper than going to the cinema. But what do I know? We're going to let you guys get out of here. If you guys are still here, I greatly appreciate it. If you can hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. Next week, follow me on social. I should say that. I never remember to say. You should follow me on social. Myers Corp Cosplay on Facebook, Myers Corp Cosplay on Instagram, Myers Corp Cosplay on TikTok, YouTube, etc. If you are a cosplayer, you should follow me on specifically Myers Corp Cosplay because we have a bunch of cosplay content coming out. If you are into wrestling, you should follow me on Myers Corp Wrestling on TikTok. We do daily, this is what happened in the past on that specific day. I'm also going to be doing more videos on there about different things, including meet and greets with WWE superstars, as well as just my fandom in general. We got a lot more content coming up. We got more podcast episodes coming up. Next week, I think we're going to do a cosplay episode. Not exactly sure what it is. It might be 3D printing, might be just some other stuff. And then we're going to have a break for the holiday. And then we're getting ready for Fan Expo Canada. Pretty Nerdy Crystal accepts Spice World that doesn't exist on a streaming platform for now. Mel B did come out recently and say that they do own the rights to the movie now, and they are going to be putting it out on a streaming platform. They didn't say which one, but they will be putting it on a streaming platform, and she said that they will be adding some cut footage from the original release, so it will be a longer cut. So I'm a Spice World fan as well, so I'm excited to finally see that movie again, because I haven't seen it since my VHS copy back in the day. All right, I'm going to let you guys get out of here. Have yourselves a good night. Hopefully I can figure out this whole streaming thing. You know, we're 154 episodes in. You think I know this by now? Hopefully we'll have it working by next week. Have yourselves a good night. I love you all, and we'll see you next week here on Monday Night Nerd. Thanks so much for watching Monday Night Nerd. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new